Hey everybody, this is Unit 1, Formative 2, Video 2, One-Step Equations. Alright, before we actually start solving some one-step equations, something that we're going to need to know is our operation symbols. So we want to know the opposite operation from our operation symbols. So if we have addition, our opposite operation is going to be subtraction. If we're using subtraction, our opposite operation is addition. Multiplication, the opposite is division, and division, the opposite is multiplication. That's just something to keep in mind when we solve one-step equations, and actually all equations you're going to be using opposite operations. Alright, so let's actually get into this here. So we have x plus 5 equals negative 15. So we want to solve this. What we're trying to do is find the value of x that we could plug in to make some value of x plus 5 to equal negative 15. Well, yeah, you could guess and check, and some of you will still do that, but I ask you to please show your work for these. So I can give you full credit, or give you some credit even if you do miss the question. So x plus 5, so what I'm going to try and do is move this 5 over to this side. So in order to do that, I need to do the opposite operation. Well, it's a positive 5, so I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. When I do that, this 5 and this 5 cancel out, so I'm just left with x equals negative 15 minus 5 gives you negative 20. And you could check your answer by saying negative 20 plus 5 equals negative 15. Negative 20 plus 5 is negative 15. Negative 15 equals negative 15, so that is your answer. Okay, we look at number 2 here. We have negative 6 plus x equals 20. Now remember, I want to move this negative 6 over to this side. Well, it's a negative 6, so I want to do the opposite. I want to make it 0, so I need to add 6. So I'm going to add 6 to this side as well. Because what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So these 6's will cancel out, because negative 6 plus 6 gives you just 0. So you have x equals 20 plus 6, which is 26. And once again, you could plug it in. So negative 6 plus 26 equals 20. Negative 6 plus 26 is 20, equals 20. And there is our check. Now, like I said, you do not have to actually do the check part here and here, but it's nice to know how to do in case you're not quite sure that you got the right answer. Alright, let's look at a few more. 5 plus x equals negative 6. So we have, what we want to do is get rid of the 5, because that is on the same side as the x. We're trying to get the x by itself. Okay? So you always work on the side where the x is. So we want to subtract 5 because it's a positive 5. So we have x, because those will cancel out. X equals negative 6 minus 5 gives you negative 11. And once again, we could check. So 5 plus negative 11 equals negative 6. And 5 plus negative 11 is negative 6. So negative 6 equals negative 6. And that is our answer. Okay, we have for number 2, x plus negative 4 equals 10. Okay, so we have x plus negative 4 this time. So to get rid of a negative 4, we're going to do the opposite, which is still add the 4, because it's a negative 4. We want to get it to 0. So we have to add 4 to this side as well. Those will cancel out. X equals 14. Okay, now some of you are going to try and subtract 4 here. Well, if you look, if you would have subtracted 4, you'd have negative 4 minus 4, which is actually negative 8. And that would give us x plus, down here, that would give us x plus negative 8 equals 6. And that's not going to help us out at all. So we want to make this part right here equal 0. We want to get rid of those. Okay, and number 3, so we have x minus 8 equals negative 10. Well, it's being subtracted 8. It's a negative 8, so to get rid of it, we're going to need to add 8. Because remember, x minus 8 is the same as x plus a negative 8. So really it's the same problem as number 2 that we're doing. So x equals, because these will cancel out, x equals negative 2. Negative 10 plus 8 gives you negative 2. Alright, let's look at some multiplication ones. So we have negative 5 times x equals negative 15. Well, remember, your opposite operation of multiplication is division. And once again, we're still trying to get rid of the number next to the x, on the same side of the equal sign as the x. So that would be negative 5 in this case. Well, opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide by whatever's next to the x, negative 5. What's going to happen there is you'll get negative 5 divided by negative 5 just gives you a 1x equals, well, you have to divide on this side as well, negative 15 divided by negative 5 gives you a positive 3. And we don't even need to write the 1 out in front of the x, so I'm just going to erase it, because that was the whole point. We wanted to get it to be a 1 out in front of the x, so x equals 3. Once again, you could check your answer here as well by saying negative 5 times 3 equals negative 15. Negative 15 equals negative 15, and you found the correct answer. Okay, number 2, same way. To get rid of the 10, because that's the one that's on the same side of the equal sign, we're going to divide by 10. So that's going to cancel those out, or make it 1, which is what we want. So x equals negative 2, because negative 20 divided by 10 gives you negative 2. Alright, and our last 2 problems here. Before we start these, did you know that every time you licked a stamp, you consumed 1/10 of a calorie? So, I guess if you're dieting, don't be licking stamps. Alright, for number 1 here, we have a division problem. X divided by 4 equals negative 10. The opposite of division is multiplication, so that means we're going to actually have to multiply by the number that is on the same side of the equal sign with the x. So same side of the equal sign as the x would be the 4. So we're going to multiply by 4 on both sides. When we do that, once again, these are going to cancel each other out. 4 divided by 4, or 4 divided by 4 pretty much is just 1, which is what we want. So we get x equals negative 40. And you could also check your answer again by saying negative 40 divided by 4 equals negative 10. Negative 10 equals negative 10. And there is your check. Alright, and then our last problem here, we have 2/3 times x equals 1/10. Okay, this could be done in 2 steps or in 1 step. I prefer to do it in 1 step. What we want to do here is actually multiply by the opposite reciprocal. Okay, well, opposite reciprocal means we're going to take this fraction here and we're going to flip it and multiply by it, because what's going to happen is I'm going to multiply by 3/2, which is the opposite reciprocal. Okay, it's just taking the fraction and flipping it. Okay, so we're going to, I'm sorry, not opposite reciprocal, but just regular reciprocal. Okay, so we're going to take 3/2 times 2/3, and I'm going to see what we get there. So remember, when we multiply fractions, we multiply across the top, so 6/6, and then 6 divided by 6 is just 1. So on this side of the equal sign, okay, we just have 1x. Alright, and then on this side we're going to have to multiply by the same thing, so 3/2. And when we do that, we get 3/20, which gives me, which I can put down there, and we cannot reduce that at all. They both don't divide by 3. So your answer would just be x, or 1x, equals 3/20. Okay, so if we look back here, what we did was we looked at the fraction that was next to the x, which was 2/3. To get rid of it, all we need to do is multiply by the reciprocal of 3/2. because what that did when I multiplied these two fractions together, I got a 1, which is what I wanted. And then I multiplied over here by the same fraction, 3 over 2, to get 3 over 20, and my answer was x equals 3 over 20. Alright, do not forget to go back to my website and take the quiz over one-step equations. This is your video too. We will see you later.